hemp, CBD, cannabis. There's a few other words that actually I have to be really careful about saying because web servers and email spam folder detectors, um, they flag certain words on the topic I am about to talk about, but I think you get the idea. Sometimes we call it pot, sometimes weed, sometimes MJ. I'm going to use the word cannabis today to talk about that. So, like, do you get confused when people talk about hemp and CBD and cannabis and, like, you don't know what they're talking about? Even some vets, I think, get a little confused. And it took me a little while to get clear on this. So that's what we're going to talk about today. How are these things different, and why does it matter, and what to do about it when that reason why it matters becomes apparent. Now, before I go on, it's obvious that I have a little distractor here in my lap. This is Oliver. He's my new puppy. He was born in April, and so he's only about 4 or 5 months old as we film this. And we took him on vacation because we like to go on vacations that our dogs can come with us. And on the beach on our sunrise walk, well, Oliver went from running around having his best time in the surf to kaboom, collapsing and falling over. Now, luckily, the way he did it, what I saw, I was 99% sure that he had found some cannabis somewhere on the beach. It was a holiday weekend, so there had been a lot of people out and about. It doesn't take much for a little dog like this to have a problem. So, at any rate, that's why he's here. So, apologies if he's distracting. Um, let's talk about it. So, like hemp. So, what's hemp? When we say hemp, hemp is cannabis sativa that's been specifically bred to have less than 3% THC in it. THC is one of the cannabinoids. Um, Hemp can be used for fiber, for food, for supplements, and also most of the CBD products, any of the CBD products that are specifically made for pets are going to be made from hemp. CBD is sort of a general term. It actually means cannabidiol. It's one of many cannabinoids that can be found in cannabis plants. I'm going to let him go down so we can focus. Cannabis and some of those other words that I can't say have higher THC compositions than hemp, and they can be used medically or recreationally by people. And THC has some very distinct benefits, even with pets, with some pretty strong caveats. Any given CBD product may have a combo of different cannabinoids. It becomes an alphabet soup pretty quickly. But there also might be terpenes. That might be a weird word, but terpenes are aromatic compounds. They're in cannabis, but they're also in like lavender or pine, giving them that characteristic odor. But terpenes can also have some medical benefits. When we look at the combination of cannabidiols, cannabinoids, and the terpenes that might be in a unique strain of cannabis that we're using, we can get what's called the entourage effect. And that's just the idea that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts, right? The cannabinoids alone, the terpenes alone, even the THC alone can do different things, but when we combine them in a specific way, the benefits can be exponentially greater. So we talk about isolate, CBD isolate products, which just means there's one usually cannabidiol in it. We can have broad spectrum, which means it's got a bunch of different cannabinoids, and full spectrum usually means that it's also got THC, but not always, right? These aren't like legal terms, so you got to really be careful. So why am I here? Why am I talking about it? Why was Oliver on my lap? THC and pets. With a lot of medications, you may have noticed that the dog dose is actually a lot higher relative to body weight than the human dose. Like thyroid medication is one of those things. But with THC, it's the opposite. And why is that? It's because there are these receptors called CB1 receptors. That's what binds THC. and they're found in the brain, and dogs in particular have a much higher concentration of CB1 receptors in their brain. So a relatively small amount of THC can have a relatively large effect on them, and not usually a good one if we've overdone it. Like I said, THC has a place, but we have to be very, very careful. It's because of science. It's because of these CB1 receptors in their brain. So a dog could get just a little bit of THC and they can get these really scary effects, like Oliver, collapsed, drooling, dribbling urine, dilated pupils, glassy eyes, wobbly, ataxic. They can get almost these Parkinsonian-like intention tremors. These are all classic signs of CBD intoxication, or THC actually intoxication. It's the good news is it's rarely life-threatening. It's very scary if you don't know what's going on, but it is only very rarely life-threatening. It can become life-threatening when they get so much THC that it actually suppresses their natural ability to breathe. Again, that's rare, but it can happen. So you need to be aware of it. So if you think your dog may have had THC intoxication, you want to count their heart rate and their breaths per minute. Now, because of the fact that my dog collapsed, another thing that can cause that is, suddenly becoming hypoglycemic. So while I was arranging for care, I put a little honey on his gums, because if he were hypoglycemic, that would have brought him out of the hypoglycemic stupor. Any non-flavored syrup will do, corn syrup, honey, maple syrup, just as long as it doesn't have weird flavorings in it. So you can do that while you're looking to get care for your pet. The veterinarian can confirm that they think that's what's going on, give some supportive care, usually some fluids, charcoal to help absorb some of the THC and get things moving through their body. Rarely they need hospitalization. Usually they don't. You take them home, you keep them quiet and in a dark room, because they can become very hypersensitive to light and noise. So like I put Oliver in his crate and just put a blanket over it and let him just chill. But then checked on him, very regular, like a couple times an hour, to make sure that he was okay. So that's what you do if it happens, if you suspect. So I'm just going to laugh and leave this. This is like a blooper that we're just leaving on in there, because Oliver jumped off my lap and now he's pulling stuff off the table because, hey, he's a puppy and obviously has made a full recovery from his bad trip. I've got this all written out in my blog. So if you really, there'll be a few more details. It's so hard with this alphabet soup, keeping everything straight. So maybe check out the blog. That's at drheather.vet. You can come over and join my Facebook group anytime you want. Ask me questions. Tell me in the comments here if you had an experience with MJ intoxication with your dog or your cat. Cats aren't dogs. Dogs. They're feral little things, and for some reason, they really seem to like the flavor of cannabis. It gets exponentially worse if it's like baked into brownies or in gummies or something, because of course that's candy and they love candy. Cats, they're not quite as hypersensitive as dogs. They also tend to have a bit more discrimination, so a lot less likely to eat too much stuff. Anyway, that's what's going on. I have a tendency to go on and on and on. If you need to know more, contact me, put a comment here, join me in the socials, and I hope this never happens to your dog, but now I think you have an idea if it does. Take care.